What better way to celebrate International Women's Day than to own your value? Welcome to Authentic Self Promotion. Ditch the cringe, own your value, create opportunities. I'm Cydnee DeToy. I'm a career coach and speaker for high achieving millennial women. I have had the pleasure of coaching over 100 women from the top business schools. I'm sure many of your classmates, Fortune 500 companies, professional services, startups, social impact organizations. I am a former strategy consultant, chief of staff, and executive leader. And I have my MBA from NYU Stern, certified coach, trained yoga instructor. And most importantly, I'm here today because self promotion is without a doubt the absolute hardest thing 90% of my clients struggle with. And it's a fact of life. If you don't self promote, you won't get the opportunities you want. And so I'm going to share the exact tools and framework I use with my clients. We are going to make today's session interactive because I want it to feel so tangible and to give you something really concrete to walk away with. So please drop in the chat one thing that you're really proud of yourself for this week. One thing in the chat that you are really proud of. And it can be something tangible, measurable, concrete that you can point to. Maybe your product launched and you have been it's exceeding targets, or your team is on track to hit their Q1 goals, or it's bonus season. Maybe you got paid out 100% of your bonus. And consider what are the more intangible, less measurable things that you're also really proud of. So, for instance, did you repair a really thorny relationship? Or did you have the idea that broke through a gridlock and a roadblock for your team? Yeah, I love seeing these come in. Successful first week at my new side gig. A lot of people finishing research papers and degrees, which is fantastic. The highest consumer rating in the market. Keep throwing them in there. And now, what I'd like you to do is give yourself a baseline and drop in the chat, how do you rate yourself around self-promotion on a scale of 0 to 10? 0 is, I hate talking about myself, so I actually just don't do it. 10 is no problem. I am so skilled at this. I love to tell everyone how special I am. I challenge you, no, don't rate yourself a 7. That's a little bit like the Goldilocks answer, not too hot, not too cold. And yeah, I love this. Dropping it in the chat. We have seen a lot of, let's say 2.5s to 6s. Yeah, keep them coming here. Yeah, and JM said it really varies based on the situation, the context. Totally get that. And the reason I want to start with this baseline is I want you to know that this is where you are today. And after today's session, with the right commitment and practice, you are going to slowly but surely consistently move further and further to the right until every single woman on this call is an 8, 9, or 10 shouting your value from the rooftop. So let's talk about why this is important and why we all came to this session today. Number one, this is complicated. Self promotion for women is a thorny minefield. And you've probably heard the research, you've listened to the studies, the podcasts that tell us on one side, if we if we don't get self promotion right, we are going to be perceived as boastful, maybe uh, power hungry, assertive to the point of being aggressive. And then on the other side, we have the studies that also tell us if we stay quiet and we allow our work to speak for itself, it actually doesn't. And if we are too quiet, we won't get the opportunities. People won't recognize our value. And so we're constantly trying to get it just right, walking this thin tightrope between not coming across as too aggressive, but not saying enough. And talking about ourselves is really uncomfortable. We as women, we're not taught to talk about our accomplishments, our values, to celebrate ourselves. In fact, we heard the opposite messages. Be humble. Actions speak louder than words. And the holding on to that mindset is only going to hold us back. And because we weren't taught to build this muscle around self promotion, we often don't have the words to talk about ourselves in the right way. And so when we try to do it, it feels a little awkward and uncomfortable, almost like we're fumbling to get the words out and we don't back them with the confidence and the foundation. And Diana literally just dropped this in the chat. This topic is so important. Building this muscle, getting more comfortable with self promotion is so important for our current selves right now to be able to get the job we want, the promotion, the stretch opportunities, the panel appointments, and our future selves. Because the more that we talk about ourselves in an asset-based, positive, vocal way, the more that we are shaping and magnetizing the future opportunities that we want. And authentic self-promotion becomes that force multiplier for your career. Let's talk about authentic self-promotion. I love using this definition, which comes from Allison Friedel in her book, Likeable Badass, which is being able to articulate your value in a way that conveys assertiveness. You're direct about what you're trying to say, as well as infuses it with warmth. And then this third piece I've added in a way that feels natural and true to yourself, so you can back the words coming out of your mouth with the right energy and conviction behind it. And pulling these three pieces together, warmth, assertiveness, authenticity, so that when you say what you want to say, it really lands in the right way with the receiver on the other end of the line. Authentic self-promotion could be we could spend a week long masterclass learning and nailing this. And we have 30 minutes together today. So I'm going to give you one really concrete tool to start practicing and getting better and better at this. And that is creating your value statement. A value statement is a short one to two sentence phrase that conveys what you're uniquely good at and why it matters. Why is that important for your team, your department, your company, the mission that you're trying to advance. And your value statement is different than your elevator pitch. Your elevator pitch is the thing you probably crafted when you were finishing grad school, you were going through the recruiting process, you talked about what you're good at, what you're looking for, and your elevator pitch probably sits on a shelf collecting dust until you brush it off occasionally for an interview process or an informational interview or the occasional networking event. Your value statement is something that you are going to use every single day to talk about you and what you're good at and why that matters. And so you're probably thinking, I know the way I create value is I quantified it on my resume in the STAR format. And I can talk about the business results that I've achieved. It feels comfortable, it's objective, so no one's going to question me. And it's measurable, it's tangible. And so those accomplishments are going to sound like I drove a product launch that drove $2 million in incremental revenue. I have a track record in reducing process inefficiencies by 20% in every single role I've had. And those are extremely important to own and be comfortable talking about, but it doesn't fully capture the totality of your value and why you bring a magic special sauce to your work. And so you need to think more expansively around your value. Consider your strengths. I'm a really excellent public speaker. I can communicate with clarity and with influence. I am really, really good at analyzing complex data sets with high quality outputs. Your expertise. If you have spent the past 2 years upskilling on Gen AI tools and you have way more knowledge than the rest of your department, own it. If you have spent your career leading thorny, complex, cross-functional initiatives and you have such a strong perspective on how to do it right, own that. Think about your unique qualities, all of the ways in which your brain works and has been working since you were born to give you a unique perspective on your work. And so consider maybe you're a great strategic thinker and you can get to exactly what matters, distilling what is important as quickly as possible. Perhaps you're a creative thinker and you can always see a new way to do something or a new way to solve a problem. And then there is your way of being, the way that you show up in the work. And perhaps that's, I make my colleagues feel really seen and have the psychological safety to perform at their best. I can connect with anyone. And I just did it last week, building a relationship with the cranky CEO that no one else could penetrate. So when thinking about your value, really expand your perspective beyond just those quantifiable results. And then we are going to put it together, take these inputs, and create your value statement. This is a super simple framework that you're going to start with, build off of, and make your own. I am good at A and B, and it matters because of this. To give you a little inspiration, here are some of the value statements that I've used at different points in my career and my clients have used. So this top one is mine when I was a chief of staff. And it probably took me 6 to 9 months in the role to really be able to see my performance and recognize why it was differentiated. But once I did, I really owned it. And it was, I'm good at coordinating the moving pieces, creating order out of chaos to drive the operating rhythm of our company, enabling our 30% year over year growth. And so it's what I did and why it was important to the company, fully owning the impact on revenue, headcount, culture. The second one is my work today as a career coach. I ask clients the questions no one else does, empowering them to tap into their values and personal power to make big life decisions. So this one's about the way that I show up, my unique perspective, the way that I'm able to connect with clients. This third one is one of my clients. I have a deep understanding of and passion for consumer behavior, and I use this to create award winning marketing campaigns. This one is so fantastic because she established herself as a thought leader. She added, I have a passion for consumer behavior. So it's adding a little bit of warmth. You can feel why this matters to her. And then she underscores it again with her track record, and she has the awards and the results to back it up. The fourth one, I am a super connector. This is one of my clients, and she just owns it because she is a super connector. And it is, I thought about, can I push her to add a whole bunch of other words around why this matters and the impact on her company and her industry? But at the end of the day, we all know and we can intuitively feel what the benefit is from having a super connector in your life. So if simplicity is your thing, just go with it. And then this last one with my client, I am really good at facilitating executive level discussions to get leadership teams to consensus. And what's exciting about this one is my client who landed on this as her value statement, at the time, this was probably 10% of her work. And now she is shouting it from the rooftops and creating more and more and more opportunities to make this a core of her work. So now it's your turn. And you get to create your own value statement. We are going to do this. We're going to take 5 minutes. In the first 3 minutes, I'd like you to grab a pen and a piece of paper, open up a Word document, and start jotting down your answers to these questions. You don't have to answer every single question. It's meant to just get your thoughts flowing. And yeah, start doing that now. I'm going to set a timer, and if we were on Zoom where I had a little bit more technical expertise, I would put on some lovely, relaxing, meditative music for you to do this. So put on your own calming playlist in the background, and uh, I'll tell you when 3 minutes are up, and we'll move on to the next piece. All right. And now it is time to create your value statement. So I am going to flip back to this slide quickly so you have the framework, but I trust that you've got it. And then I'm going to leave this slide up so you have some inspiration. Although do not feel like you have to match these or you have to copy this. And take 2 minutes now to craft your value statement. If you have questions or are wanting support, drop your question into the chat and I'll answer it out loud because my guess is wherever you're needing support or stuck, it's going to be helpful to the rest of this group too. Nicole, absolutely. What I'll also do is I'll drop this into the chat right now so you have it. And then leave it on this slide. So happy writing. All right. You probably guessed where this was going. Please drop your value statement in the chat. And the reason I am asking you to do this is one, this is the very first time that you get to own that value, to put it out into the world, to start to claim it proudly. Two, you might get inspiration from the other women. Maybe someone included something that you hadn't thought of yet. And then three, let's cheer each other on because what better way to celebrate International Women's Day than to get to see each other's values and the way that we're owning it and just claiming it. So drop those into the chat. I know you probably are not finished and it's not perfect, but we just want to see it. And we want to be able to cheer each other on. And I'm good at reaching out to people and connecting. I'm detail-oriented and coachable. I have a creative way of leveraging technology to solve complex obstacles. All right, let's keep them coming. These are fantastic. Thank you for sharing. I spearhead bold ideas. Okay, I could keep reading them forever. But what I want to equip you with now is the tools, like how you have the words. And so now, how do you go out into the world and keep talking about these things? So, I'm going to give you homework, which is use your value statement and share it with one person today. Before the day is over, articulate, put your value statement out into the world, and then do it every single day for the next 2 weeks. Use it in conversation, share it in email writing, maybe frame some work through it, and you're going to be cruising. Your value statement is going to be out there in the world, and people are going to be recognizing you for it. When you talk about it, here's 2 tools to infuse some warmth. When you're sharing your value statement, put it in the context of why you're curious or what you're learning, how it's in service for others. For instance, when I talk about this session, I'm going to talk about how we got to present on this topic I have expertise in, and it's in service of all of you. Share other people's feedback and praise. So you're promoting every single positive thing that comes into your inbox. Build it into your regular work structure. So you're sending weekly updates. You're telling people what you're good at, the value your team is creating, and then partner with close colleagues to really amp each other up and share and talk about each other's value statements. So you have your homework, start putting it out into the world, and those opportunities are going to come back to you. I would love to stay in touch. The North Star of my business is helping you feel as good as your resume looks. And I know your resumes all look really fantastic. And I do that in 2 ways. For the women who are feeling stuck and unfulfilled in your career, join me in my Career Accelerator, where we'll help you find the role that is absolutely made for you, build the confidence, and plan to make it yours. For the women who are tired of playing small, feel exhausted by your self-doubt, perfectionism, overwork, join me in Calm OS, an 8-week group coaching program to help you build the confidence and boundaries to reach your potential with Calm. And then please join my newsletter. I would love to connect. It is a special place on the internet where I share more resources like this, my own personal journey, client success studies, and really everything you need to feel as good as your resume lets. It has been so wonderful to be with you here today. Share your value, and happy International Women's Day.